One night, I was jolted awake by the haunting howls of wolves. The spine-chilling cries were so close, it felt like they were right outside my window. Just as I was drifting back to sleep, a louder howl erupted, and then, silence. What was lurking in the shadows outside my home? Chapter 19. I wake up with a start. Feeling my body, I realized that I didn't wake up because of the pain or fire. If it wasn't that, then what did I wake up to? Suddenly, a long howl fills the silence. Shivers run down my spine at the noise. The howl ends and another one starts up immediately. I am frozen as the howls continue. They don't seem to stop. I didn't know there were wolves this close. I guess it makes sense because we are surrounded by forest. My thoughts are interrupted by another howl, though this one seems to be from right outside my window. I stop breathing. They seem so close. Another howl, louder than the rest and also seems like it is right outside the house. Sound and the howls stop. I wait a couple minutes and there aren't any more. My breathing slowly starts returning. I lay back down from my sitting position and look at the clock. It says that I still have 4 hours of sleep left. I try to close my eyes and relax, but they don't want to close. Why are there wolves so close to the house? I know that there's a forest surrounding the house, but wouldn't the wolves know to stay away from people? Shivers again dart down my spine as I think of how close they actually were. I stare at my clock, watching the numbers change. Eventually, my eyes start closing, I start relaxing. Before I realize it, I fall into sleep once again. A loud beeping noise fills the air. I groan as I turn around to face my alarm clock. My arm feels heavy as I lift it, only to let it slam down on the snooze button. I turn back around with a sigh, only to hear my dad shout, "Get up." I groan again. "I'm up. Promise." I yell back, hoping he will leave me alone now. True to my word, I sit up and stretch my arms up into the air. I turn and put my feet on the floor, stand up, and do a full-body stretch. About 20 minutes later, I stand in front of the mirror and observe myself. I look healthier than I was just a few days ago. And not only that, but I feel healthier. I smile at myself in the mirror. I turn around and walk out of my room. I jog downstairs and walk into the kitchen, grabbing an apple and my lunchbox from the fridge. I walk over to my backpack and put my lunchbox in it while taking a bite from the apple. "Hey sweetie, ready to go?" Mom says as she comes into the kitchen. "Yep," I respond cheerfully. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Here's the keys." She throws me the keys. "Go start the car and I'll be out in a minute." I nod my head and put my backpack over my shoulders. With the keys in my hand, I walk out into the garage and open the garage door. As it opens, I notice a sleek, dark blue car that I've never seen before. Sitting across the street, I watch the car out of the corner of my eye as I unlock our car and get in. Once in, I adjust the mirror so I can watch the car. It's suspicious, just sitting there, with no one getting out or getting in. The door to the house opens and my mom comes out. She walks over to the driver's side and gets in. "Why didn't you start the car?" "I forgot." "Sorry," I say absentmindedly. "Whose car is that?" My mom glances in the mirror. "Probably the neighbors or their friends." "Does it matter?" "No," I say quickly. "It's a nice car." "Yeah, I guess." She responds and starts the car. We back out and pass the car and start driving towards the school. I watch the car grow smaller through the mirror. Suddenly, right before the car is about to disappear from my sight, it makes a U-turn and starts following us. It keeps its distance, making sure that it stays small in the mirror. "What the hell?" "Mom, the car's following us." I whisper like the car can hear us. She looks in the mirror and sighs. "It's probably a student, Evangeline. What's got you so worked up?" In the back of my mind, I hear the wolves howling. "Nothing. You're right. It's just a student." Even I don't sound convincing to my ears. "Did you hear anything last night?" I ask suddenly. Beside your father snores. No, she chuckles. Why did you hear something? I pause. I think I heard the house creaking during the night. It is an old house. It'll make noise. Is that what has you so nervous this morning? Mon asks. Yeah, probably. We settle into silence for the rest of the ride. My eyes never stray from the mirror as I watch the car follow us at a distance. In my peripheral vision, I see the school. Mom pulls into the school parking lot and drives to the front of the school so I can get out. Before she stops the car, I watch the blue car speed up and drive past the school. Mom stops the car and I open the door quickly. By none. By sweetie. She responds before I shut the door. I turn around and walk quickly into the school. I hope I can find Josh before school and tell him about the car. I would think he would know it because he's lived here longer and seems to know a lot more people than I do. Shit. Mr. Johnston, S. Romeo and Juliet quiz. I forgot I needed to take it this morning. I quickly change my direction and head to my communications classroom. I walk there quickly, hoping that he won't be too mad. I'm a little late. I walk into the classroom. Mr. Johnston, I'm sorry I'm late. I almost forgot. You're fine. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Right on time. I have the quiz right here. He holds up a piece of paper. Take a seat and I'm pretty sure you will finish it before school starts. Thank you. I respond as I walk to a desk to put my backpack down. I put it down and turn around and walk to Mr. Johnston's desk and grab the quiz. I return to the desk and get out a pencil. For the next 15 minutes, I take the quiz. It was surprisingly really easy. I found myself filling in every blank quickly, which might be due to the fact that I've already read Romeo and Juliet. With 5 minutes left before school starts, I hand in the finished quiz. Thanks, Mr. Johnston. I say back as I walk to the door. No problem, he responds. I walk out of the classroom and head to history. I groan at the prospect of seeing Ashton again. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. He needs to leave me alone. Isn't that what he wanted in the first place? For me to leave him alone? Well, he needs to return the favor. I walk into history and again am surprised to see Ashton already sitting at our table. As soon as I take my first step towards our table, Ashton's head shoots up and my eyes are immediately caught in his gaze. His eyes scan my face as I continue walking to the table. I break eye contact when I set my backpack down on the floor and sit down. I can still feel his eyes looking at me. Though for what? I don't know. He breaks the silence. Where were you this morning? I scoff. None of your business. It is my business. I was waiting for you. His voice turns hard. My life is not your business and I don't need anyone waiting for me. My voice is also a little harder. Especially you. I say, quieter. Who the hell does he think he is? Why can't he leave me alone? His gaze drops and he turns his head to face the front of the room. I keep my eyes at the front of the room. The project's done. I turned it in this morning. Ashton whispers. Extremely quietly. So quietly, in fact, that I'm not sure that's what he said. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I exclaim, quickly turning my head to face him. He slowly turns to face me and can see sadness in his eyes. I turned in our project this morning. Ashton says loud enough for me to be positive he did say that. Sorry about making you do it by yourself earlier. Regret is clear in his voice. I sit there stunned. How the hell am I supposed to respond to that? I stare at him, waiting for the punchline of the joke. Because he's got to be kidding. But Ashton doesn't say anything. He sits there, staring back into my eyes. All right, class, Mr. Holland starts class. But I block out whatever he's about to say. Ashton breaks our eye contact when he turns to face Mr. Holland. I continue to stare at the right side of his face, still unbelieving that he actually did something even remotely nice. Get to it. Mr. Holland's voice breaks me out of my trance. I look to the front of the room, hoping that I can catch up on what I missed. But Mr. Holland had already reached his desk. Conversations drift toward me as I realize we're supposed to work with our table partner. Well, since the project's done, I guess we can immediately start on the classwork. Ashton's voice cuts through our table silence. What the hell is wrong with you? The outburst comes out of my mouth without my consent. What do you mean? Ashton asks me, his voice guarded. My mouth just doesn't know when to stop. Do you think I can't do a project? Do you think I'm going to mess it up? Am I really that bad that I can't do a simple project? You have to do everything and turn it in by yourself, making me look like the person who's been lacking off. What's wrong with you? Ashton looks taken aback by my outburst. Even I don't know where it came from. I don't say anything after that, and silence settles over us again. I look away from Ashton's gaze and instead look at the table. Listen. Ashton starts and I feel his hand on my shoulder. Sparks erupt from the contact. I'm sorry. You have no idea how much. But I am sorry I was making you do all the work. I thought the only way to make that up to you was to do the whole project myself, and give you most of the credit for it. The sparks kept on increasing as Ashton talked, and it was hard to concentrate on anything other than the sparks. Though somehow, Ashton's voice got through the intensity of the sparks, and I was surprised to hear what he said. It didn't sound like him at all. With that in mind, I shrug off his hand. Please don't touch me. I mumble. Ashton's hand drops down to his side. He opens his mouth like he wants to say something, but I cut him off before he can say anything. And like I said yesterday, I don't want your stupid apology. The rest of the class passed very slowly and very silently between Ashton and myself. I didn't want to work with him, so I did the partner work by myself. Ashton must have taken the hint to leave me alone because he started doing the partner work by himself. He looked like he was arguing with someone. Though there was no one around, he wasn't talking. I decided to completely ignore him. The bell rang and I packed up my stuff as quickly as possible, unable to deal with the silence any longer. I stand up and start walking to the door. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A high shudder goes down spine when Ashton says my name. I ignore it as I walk out of the room. I walk quickly to math class. Surprisingly, I am in the class before Josh. I go to my seat and sit down. A loud sigh comes out of my mouth. What the hell was that? I put my head in my hands and sigh again. What's bothering you? Darling. A southern accented voice comes from my right. I look over and Josh smiling at me. When I don't smile back, his smile falls into a concerned face. What's wrong? Josh asks, concern clear in his voice. His eyes dart everywhere. His nostrils flare and he starts to turn his head so he can see almost the entire room. Josh's body tenses like he's about to run, and his hand grabs my wrist like he's going to pull me with him if he runs. Wow, Josh. Calm down. I sigh and search my brain for the right words, but I can't think of any. I don't know. What's wrong? Josh repeats, still looking tense. But his eyes dart to mine and I see concern shining through. Josh, calm down. I repeat, it's nothing. I'm just a little confused on some things. Oh, Josh's body relaxes. Well, what are you confused about? I hesitate. Not sure if I want to tell Josh what's going. Just some school stuff that I missed. It's hard to catch up on everything in every class. I lie. Josh looks a little disappointed at my answer. Oh, well, do you need some help on some stuff? I smile at his offer. No, I'll let you know. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Our conversation is interrupted by Mrs. Flemington. Would you like to take the test today? Yes, I would. I respond, feeling lucky that I studied last night. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please come up and get your test. Then if you could go into the hall to take your test so I could pass out the graded tests, Mrs. Flemington says obsessively as she goes through the many papers on her desk. I stand up, grab my binder so I can write on a hard surface, and walk to her desk. When I reach the desk, she hands me a test and I go directly to the hallway. Once in the hallway, I lay down across from the room and start my test. The door opens and Mrs. Flemington steps out of the room. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Class is over in 2 minutes. Are you almost done? Oh yes. I just have to put down my last answer. I respond quickly. I didn't realize time could go so fast. I turn back towards my test, and hearing a small click telling me that Mrs. Flemington went back into the room, I put down my answer for the last question. I stand up with my test and walk back into the room. I spot Josh's scowl when I walk in. I smirk to myself and walk to Mrs. Flemington's desk. I hand her my test, to which she smiles, and I walk back to my desk. Why so down? I ask Josh mockingly. Josh scowls. I got a B. I laugh at him. I told you not to gloat. You never told me any such thing. Josh exclaims, his hands flailing around. You just didn't listen. I say like a parent scolding his or her child. A smile threatens to break out on my face at Josh's flustered expression. I know I really didn't say that, but it's too much fun watching Josh's expressions. Josh opens his mouth but is interrupted by the bell. I laugh at him and pack up my stuff. I stand up and hoist my backpack on shoulders and walk to the front of the classroom where I wait for Josh. Josh sluggishly hoists his backpack on his shoulders and walks to the front of the room where I am. Oh, cheer up, Josh. I mock him. Shut up. I wanted an R. He mumbles. I shrug my shoulders and start walking out of the classroom. Josh walks next to me, still acting sluggish. I sigh. Josh, you're bringing my good mood down. I emphasize my. He smiles at me. Good. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I mumble. Don't be rude. Josh takes on the tone I had in the classroom. A scolding parent. By Josh. Coincidentally, my next class comes up. I speed up and quickly walk into the classroom before Josh can respond. I rush to my desk and quickly put my backpack down. By Evie. Josh shouts through the doorway. Damn it. Sighing at my failure. I look around for Catherine. My search also fails to find her. She's not here today. Delilah's voice makes me jump. Oh, okay. My good mood again takes a beating. Class starts and Mr. Johnston repeats the Romeo and Juliet scene instructions and lets us get to work. My group gets together and continues our work from yesterday. We discuss and start writing our script, with the language straight from the book like Catherine wanted, completely caught up in our work. I didn't hear the lunch bell go off until I noticed other students around us packing their stuff and heading out the door. I guess we will continue this tomorrow. I say in the direction of my group while I pack up my stuff. I hoist my backpack on my shoulders, with the subtraction of my lunchbox which I am now holding in my hands. I start walking toward the door. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Wait up. I hear a male voice behind me. I turn around and take a step back as Grant hops next to me. He smiles at me and gestures for me to exit the classroom first. I exit the classroom with Grant hit on my heels. He again hops up next to me and starts walking at my pace despite his obvious longer stride. What's up, Grant? I say cheerily. Nothing. Just wanted to walk to the lunchroom with someone. How about you? He answers just as cheerful. I guess the prospect of food is making everyone happy. I'm so ready to eat. My statement is backed up by a loud growl from my stomach. Grant laughs at the noise and I soon join in. We turn the corner to the doors to the cafeteria, and I am surprised to see Josh and Ashton whispers furiously to each other. I stop in my tracks. Remembering an incident on one of my first days here with Arch and I've caught Josh and I in the middle of a conversation. They didn't seem to be buddies back then. So why were they together now? Suddenly, Ashton stopped whispering whatever he was saying and seemed to tense up. He whipped his head so he was looking at Grant and I. His eyes quickly scanned me before they turned to glare at Grant. A growl-like sound seemed to emanate from him as he continued to look at Grant. It was then I glanced at Josh. At first he seemed confused as he looked at Grant and I. He glanced at me, making eye contact, and then at Grant, and lastly at the space between us before looking at me again. Josh made eye contact with me again, and this time I could see past the confusion. Instead I could see a hint of worry in his brown eyes. Suddenly, Ashton turned and headed to the door that led to outside. He was the only one moving. Josh, Grant, and I were still frozen, and Ashton opened the door roughly and sprinted out into the forest. I feel my eyebrow cock in confusion. Why would he go into the forest? The forest helps calm him down. Josh answers my unspoken question at the same time. Breaks the awkward silence. Why would he need to calm down? I ask suspiciously. Josh pauses. His eyes seem to widen in panic before he quickly covers it. Bad test. He got a D, and he's really upset about that. Oh, I look at Grant, who seems to be as confused as me. Are you ready to eat? Sure. Grant responds unsurely. I look back at Josh and gives me a small smile. Well, I better go after him. He doesn't give me time to respond as he rushes out, the same door Ashton rushed out of, and heads the same direction as Ashton went. Chapter 20. Josh's POV. Sitting in history listening to Mr. Holland go on about some important event was such a bore. I sigh again and look at the clock. It's been 4 minutes since the last time I checked. I sigh again. How slow can this class go? Suddenly Ashton's voice fills my head. I am outside the cafeteria. His voice says, I need to talk to you. What does he want now? All week he's been asking me about Evie and what she's like and what to say to her. And frankly, it's getting on my nerves. I look at the clock again. Another minute has passed. I raise my hand and it takes a few seconds for Mr. Holland to notice my raised hand. Yes, Josh. Mr. Holland's gruff voice says. He sounds irritated that I interrupted his lecture. I smile on the inside. Can I go to the bathroom? I ask quickly. Mr. Holland sighs. It's almost lunch. Can't you wait? He looks almost embarrassed to be asking me that now. A few of the other students snicker at my response. Fine. But if the bell rings, you have to come back here and grab your stuff. I am out of my seat and halfway across the room by the time he said, come back here. I quickly leave the classroom and stroll down the hall to the cafeteria. I hear pacing before I see Ashton. I turn the corner and true to my ears. Ashton is pacing. His head immediately shoots up as soon as I turn the corner. What took you so long? Ashton asks, his voice hard. I am helping you, not the other way around. I remind him. He's been having an issue with patience lately and, like his constant questions about Evie, his lack of patience is starting to get on my nerves. Ashton sighs and runs his hand through his hair, his hard expression disappearing. He stops his pacing as I come up to him. What do you want? I ask him when I face him. Is she with anyone? Does she have a boyfriend? Ashton almost sounded insecure as he asked his questions. What kind of questions are those? Ashton's hard expression comes back. Don't laugh at me. And they're perfectly fine questions. I'm her mate. I snort again. Some mate you've been. Ashton moves so quickly that I don't see him move. His hand is around my neck and he is holding me against the wall. His normal blue eyes have turned black with anger. A growl emanates from his throat. It's true and you know it. Ashton's body immediately slacks at my words. He lets go of my neck and takes a step back, closing his eyes. When he looks at me again, I can clearly see the regret in his eyes. He doesn't say anything now. What? The question is filled with regret. Though I know the regret doesn't have anything to do with what I said. She isn't in a relationship. I'm the only guy she really talks to. I say quietly. Ashton's body relaxes in relief at my words. Suddenly, his body tenses as if he's being attacked. You're not with her, are you? Ashton asks me. His voice takes on an accusing tone. I narrow my eyes. No, but maybe I should have been there when you weren't. I know I am just egging him on. But I don't care. He deserves it. Ashton turns towards me, a challenge clear in his eyes. Don't challenge me, Josh. I am still your alpha. I'm not challenging you, Alpha. I say the title mockingly. I am stating a fact. The bell rings, signaling lunch. However, Ashton and I haven't moved from our positions. Tense silence stretches on between us. Voices start filtering in from the hallway. I know people are coming this way. Ashton seems to realize this as I realize it. And he moves to the side, gesturing for me to follow. I follow him, my steps stiff. We move to the side just in time, as what looks like 100 students down the hallway and go into the cafeteria. Ashton and I get more than a few stares, mostly from the pack, but quite a few humans glance at us too. Ashton's voice again comes into my head. So are you with Evie? I don't respond. Josh. Ashton's growl erupts in my head. I still don't respond. A few seconds later, the only people who are passing us are stragglers. From behind me, Ashton grabs my shoulder roughly and turns me around to face him. His face is in the form of a scowl. I make sure to keep my face neutral. You're not with Evie, right, Josh? Ashton asks stiffly through clenched teeth. I keep my neutral face. No, and she's not with anyone else. Right. His voice is still stiff, but he unclenched his jaw now. Why did you just say that? In the Ashton's voice cuts off. And I know why. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Along with another human boy, just turned the corner to go into the cafeteria. Ashton's back is to her, so he takes a small inhale of her scent. Ashton whips his head to face, and a second later his body follows. I keep my eyes on Ashton as he scans over Evie, probably making sure she is okay, before glaring at the human boy. A low growl comes out of his throat as he continues to look at the human boy. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Stop it. I shout at him through the link. His voice returns in a growl. I thought you said she wasn't with anyone. His snarls echo through my mind. She isn't. I respond to him, though my statement doesn't make a difference in his anger. I take a quick second and look at Evie. Her expression shows her confusion as she glances at Ashton. Then me. Then back at Ashton. I look at the human boy next. He also looks confused, but also a little frightened when he glances at Ashton's glare. I look at the space between them. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And they're not touching. I can tell that there's nothing between them. I look back at Evie and make eye contact. Our eye contact is cut when Ashton lifts his glare away from the human boy and takes off towards the door that leads to outside. I know his wolf is about to take over due to the snarls that are still echoing in my mind. He throws open the door, almost breaking it, and takes off into the forest. I watch him run to the forest and disappear inside it. A howl sounds off in my head and I know he's shifted. I look back at Evie and the human boy. Both of them are looking at where Ashton has just taken off to. Damn it, Ashton. Thinking quickly, I turn to Evie and give the best explanation I can. The forest helps calm him down. Evie barks in confusion and catches on to my lame excuse almost immediately. Why would he need to calm down? Shit. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Another lame excuse comes to my head. Bad test. He got a D, and he's really upset about that. Confusion is still apparent on Ellie's face. Oh, she turns to face the boy. Are you ready to eat? The human is still looking at me. I give him a small glare of my own when Evie's not look at me. Sure, he says, glancing away from me. I fix my glare into a small smile as Evie looks back at me. Well, I better go after him. I say to Evie. Before giving her a chance to respond, I turn and rush out of the same door Ashton rushed out of. Without thinking twice about it, I rush into the forest after Ashton. As soon as I am in the cover of the trees, I feel the shift of my bones as I turn into my wolf. I follow Ashton's scent to a familiar clearing in the forest. I find him there, in wolf form, taking out his anger on some poor, helpless trees. They're the best opponent. I tell him through our link, because they don't fight back. You said she wasn't with anyone. His voice shouts back. Who was she walking with? I sigh in my mind. Calm down, Ashton. I tell him, sighing. Did you even see them? Or did your anger cloud your sight? Ashton turns towards me, his wolf face transformed into a snarl. A feral growl comes out of his throat as he focuses on me. His eyes are black and I know his wolf has taken over. Ashton starts stalking towards me. My senses are on high alert as he stalks towards me. I know I can't beat him in a fight. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I say through our link calmly. Please think clearly. I know they are only friends. How do you know? The question is growled out in my mind. Because I've never seen them together before now. I tell him truthfully in his mind. Ashton stops in his tracks and I watch his eyes slowly turn back to blue. I know he's gained control over his wolf once again. A sigh comes out of his muzzle. Without responding to me, Ashton turns around and starts running back home. I stay in the clearing for a few seconds longer, looking in the direction Ashton took off in. I sigh and head in the same direction, intending to go home. Instead of running like Ashton had, I walk in the direction of home. What have I gotten myself into? Chapter 21. As Grant and I enter the lunchroom, I can't stop thinking about what just conspired. Why were Josh and Ashton even talking to each other, when I know for sure that they can't stand each other? More importantly, where the hell did they go? To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Hurry up. My thoughts are cut short as I hear Taylor call to me. Hey. I respond to Taylor as I sit down. Where's Catherine? Doesn't she usually walk to lunch with you? Taylor asks me as she takes a bite of her sandwich. She's not here today. Grant answers. It's good she wasn't. I don't know what she would have made from the confrontation in the hallway. It probably would have gone way different because Catherine would have said something to the two boys. I laugh quietly to myself as I picture Catherine telling them to shut the hell up and get out of the way of her food. Did anyone think of texting her? Taylor's question pops up. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. How stupid can I be? I quickly whip out my phone and send a quick, "Are you okay?" text to Catherine. That's why I'm the smart one. Taylor says smugly. I roll my eyes at her and she responds by sticking out her tongue. So you guys will never guess what Evie and I walked into. Grant's excited voice cuts through the murmurs of the cafeteria. My eyes immediately cut to him. What? Taylor asks in a bored tone. I try to catch Grant's eyes before he starts talking about what we walked into. I know it had nothing to do with us, so it shouldn't be our job to spread rumors about it. Josh and Ashton were in a heated argument right in front of the cafeteria doors. Evie and I were walking around the corner. We probably interrupted that argument. I interrupted him. Grant, we don't know what was going on. Stop talking about it. Grant scoffs at me. Calm down, Evie. I'm not spreading anything about it. It was just weird. Grant turns back to Taylor, who still looks bored but seems to have a little interest. Ashton growled at me, who had just taken a sip from her water bottle, starts to choke on her water as she presumably tries to control her laughter. I pat her back until she stops coughing. Laughter immediately bubbles out of her mouth. He growled at you. Taylor laughs out the question. Her laughs are contagious and I find myself starting to chuckle. Don't laugh, Grant exclaims with a light link blush coming to his cheeks. To my agent extraordinaire, Moonlit, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He growled at me. Tell her, Evie. I know you heard it too. My chuckle stops immediately. Grant is looking straight at me and I can see his pleading in his eyes. He wants me to confirm what I already know. Ashton did growl at him. I glance at Taylor, who is still mildly laughing, as she looks at me with a disbelieving look. He's not an animal. Grant looks down and grumbles under his breath. He knows I'm right, but probably doesn't want to admit it. What he did say was true. To a point. But I know I'm right. Ashton's not an animal and it probably wasn't a growl. People can't growl anyway. Time to move on from this strange conversation. Taylor starts a new conversation by telling us about a substitute that was in her earlier class. All too soon. The lunch bell rings and we have to go back to classes. I walk to French class quickly. I've decided I want this day to end. And I want it to end quickly. I reach French and immediately go to my desk. I sit down and get out my French stuff. As I lift my head to look towards the front, I see Delilah come in. She also looks to be in a rush. Hey Evie, she says, sounding out of breath. Could I see last night's homework, please? I did some of it but then fell asleep. Yeah, sure, I respond, opening my binder to get the worksheet out. Delilah responds, taking the worksheet and quickly starts to fill in answers. I again look to the front and wait for the bell to ring. Right before it's about to ring, a paper flies onto my desk. I look over to Delilah and see her mouth a thank you, and I respond with a nod. We both look to the front as Madame Cooper comes in and the bell rings. French flies by pretty quickly as I get wrapped in relearning French. Half of the class was spent listening to a lecture, half in the language of French and half in the language of English. Then the class got time to practice, or in my case, sit and listen quietly because my partner happened to be gone today. Lastly, Madame Cooper handed out our homework for tomorrow and allowed us to start working on it. Walking out of French, I realize that my next class is science with Josh. My stomach starts to roll in nervousness. I don't really want to ask him what the hell happened, but I have a feeling that it involved me, whatever it was. Or maybe he didn't come back to school. He ran off into the forest. He might have just stayed there. Part of me hopes he did because I don't want anything to be awkward between us. And I have a feeling that things might become awkward. I walk into science and see Josh already at his seat. I hesitate at the doorway. I really don't want to confront him about what happened in the hallway, but I'm too curious as to what exactly did happen between him and Ashton. I walk slower towards my seat. When I reach our lab table, I see Josh glance up at me and give me a small smile. I return the small smile with one of my own. I sit down and an awkward silence falls over us. Why are you here? I blurt out, unable to handle the silence anymore. Josh laughs. I go to school here. To my 18th extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He says sarcastically. I huff. Well, I know that. I mean, why are you still here? You ran off into the forest. I leave my question hanging, hoping Josh will answer it. I forgot my stuff. Josh responds, no longer looking at me. I look at him expectantly. I want him to answer the unspoken question of why the hell he ran into the forest. I look at Josh, waiting for him to say something else. When I notice he's wearing new clothes. Why the hell did he change? I open my mouth to voice my question, but Mr. Cole beats me to it. All right, guys. Mr. Cole starts class. We're going to get started on something new. A chorus of groans fills the classroom. Hey now, Mr. Cole continues. We're going to be starting our projects on Holtex on alternate energy. I have the rubric right here and I'll pass it out today and you guys will start planning today. Do we get to work with partners we choose? I think his name is Joey. Calls out. You will be working with your lab partners. Another chorus of groans fills the room, but not from me. I turn to Josh and give him a smile. He gives me a smile in return. I know he's not too upset about working with lab partners. Don't be rude to your partners. Mr. Cole reprimands the class. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. On to the project. Each group proposes an alternate energy, such as solar, water, or nuclear, and research it. Only one group can do each alternate energy. For example, only one group can do solar energy and only one group can do wind energy, and so on. These are due in 2 weeks. Discuss with your partners and then one of you come up here and tell me what energy you are doing and grab rubrics for the project. You get the rest of class to start your projects. As soon as me. Cole stops talking. Talking erupts from the class. 2 people from 2 groups have already gotten to Mr. Cole's desk to tell him what they want to do. Josh turns to me quickly. Are you okay with doing nuclear energy? Josh stands up with a smile. Then I better go reserve it before someone else does. Josh quickly walks to Mr. Cole's desk to tell him what we are doing. I see Mr. Cole nod and write something down. Mr. Cole then points to a stack of white papers. Josh picks up 2 of the sheets and starts walking back here. We got it. Here's the rubric and on the back of it is what we have to do for the project. Josh says as he slides one of the rubrics to me. I look it over and it confirms what I already thought we would have to do for the project. A poster or PowerPoint that explains what our energy is. We have to give a presentation with our poster or PowerPoint. And both of us have to each turn in a paper. It's a pretty basic project, but it reminds me of the project Ashton and I had to do. A flash of anger runs through my body as I remember how he handled that this morning. What's wrong? Josh asks. My expression must have been showing my anger by accident. I quickly smooth out my expression into one that could be considered as neutral. Nothing. I'm just thinking of the project. Okay. Josh looks skeptically at me. Well, I was thinking that you could come over this weekend and we could start it. And probably finish it too. Then we wouldn't have to worry about it later. I agree with him. And I'm sure it will be fine. I can probably come over. What's your address? Josh rips off a part of a piece of paper, writes his address down and hands it to me. I take it and put it on top of my binders in my backpack so I won't lose it. Why did you want to do nuclear energy? I ask Josh suddenly when I remember his excitement to do nuclear energy. Josh chuckles. I find it interesting that if one thing goes wrong, the whole thing blows up. I join Josh's laughter. Well, that's a happy way of looking at it. For the rest of class, Josh and I talk about our project. There's still a hint of tension between us, probably due to what happened, but I'm willing to ignore it if he is, and Josh seems to be ignoring it. We made our plans for Saturday. He will pick me up at 11, and I'll stay until 3. We will probably have our project done during that time. The rest of the day passed quickly, as if the day was excited to be over with. Jim was an utter bore with no Catherine Lister. Guy had us play soccer again, and as I predicted, I was one of the last to be picked. But I didn't mind. We played, and lost by 2, and soon enough it was time for the final bell to ring. Looking at my phone, I realized that I never got a text from Catherine. Briefly, I wondered what she was doing and if she was okay. The bell rang and I walked out of the gym. I made my way through the rushing students, getting bumped by quite a few shoulders and backpacks. But I eventually made it to the front of the school. Mum's car was already there, sitting by the curb. And as I approached, she waved. How was school? She asked as soon as I was in the car. My mind flew through the day. From an infuriating Ashton and his stupid idea to finish the project, to the fact that Catherine wasn't here and never responded to my text. And from the strange conversation I walked into between Josh and Ashton, to Josh and I's plans to meet on Saturday. It was fine. Chapter 20 to the rest of the week passed quickly. School was better. Ashton never returned from the forest, so I never saw him again that week. Catherine and I had been texting and I found out she had the flu, and that she blamed me for giving it to her. I had to laugh at that. Saturday rolled around and I found myself excited to work with Josh. Neither of us mentioned what had happened and we both seemed to have moved on. However, it was always in the back of my mind. Waking up half an hour before Josh was supposed to be here, I quickly get out a pair of leggings and a Doctor Who t-shirt. I change out of my pajamas quickly and, pausing to look at my now clear skin, I smile and get into my clothes that I'm wearing today. The bruises are finally gone. I walk swiftly out of my room and walk past my parents' room. Glancing in their room, I see that the bed is already made, so I know that they've already left. I jog down the stairs and go into the kitchen. I decide to make a bagel and cream cheese. Getting out the bagels and cream cheese, I quickly pop one bagel into the toaster, realizing that I left my shoes upstairs. I run back up the stairs to my room and grab my moccasins and head back downstairs. Once I enter the kitchen, the toaster beeps and my bagels pop up. I grab a butter knife and quickly spread the cream cheese on my bagel. I start eating immediately once I notice that I have 10 minutes until Josh gets here. Suddenly, a honk sounds from outside. I look at the clock and realize that Josh is early. I quickly finish eating my bagel and slip on my moccasins. Another honk sounds and I smile at Josh's impatience. I walk to the garage and open the garage door. I wave at Josh when the door gets high enough. He responds by pointing at his non-existent watch. I roll my eyes at him and walk to the keypad to close the garage door. I type in the quick 5-number password and the garage door starts to close. I turn around and still see Josh pointing to his non-existent watch. I open the door to his car and Josh lets out an annoyed sigh. Patient much? I ask him sarcastically. I can be patient, if I don't have to wait forever. Josh responds just as sarcastic as I was. Josh playfully glares at me as he pulls out of my driveway. I return his glare until I notice that he's not looking at the road. Watch the road, you idiot. I shout at Josh. He chuckles and slowly turns his head to watch the road. I know where I'm going, Josh says. I scoff. But you don't know if a car will come barreling down the road and crash into you. Josh simply chuckles again, but he keeps his eyes on the road. Quiet music fills the space and I realize that the radio has been on this entire time. I start to listen to it as Josh drives on. We enter the main part of the town. Josh continues to drive through the town until we are on the other side. We keep on driving for a couple minutes until, through the trees, I can see the outline of a house. A small gasp comes out of my mouth as I realize where we're going. You live here, I exclaim when the huge house comes into view. This was the same house that I saw the day we came here. It looked even bigger up close. Josh laughs. Yeah, quite a few of us do. His laughing stops abruptly and he glances at me. His eyes give away what his mouth doesn't. That he wasn't supposed to say that. What do you mean? Do you have a big family? I ask him, catching on quickly. Josh hesitates. Yes, kind of. I mean, I consider them family, but they're not. It's kind of like a... Josh stops and it looks like he's having trouble finding the right word. Like community home. Yeah, a community home. Oh, okay. I respond. That's kind of strange that it's a community home, but I guess that explains why the house is so big. Josh owns into what I assume is the driveway. We roll up towards the house. Josh makes a right turn when the driveway splits in two. I'm guessing the other way heads to the front of the house. We instead drive to where I assume the garage is located. My suspicions are confirmed when I see the open garage. We pull into the big garage and Josh parks the car. Next to us is a nice, sleek, blue car. I look at it closely and realize that I've seen it before. That's the car that was outside my house. What do you mean? When was it outside your house? Josh asks me. Josh, I swear that's the car that was outside my house and followed me to school one morning. I try to explain as I continue to look at the car. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That's a pretty popular car. I'm sure that's not the car. Josh's voice of reason tells me. I turn back to look at him and he looks at me, expecting me to agree with him. I'm not in the mood for an argument, so I let it go right now. I guess. Josh opens his door and I follow suit, both of us stepping out of the car. I close my door and then there's a short beep. I know Josh just locked the car. This is your house. Why do you lock your car? I ask him. Josh shrugs. We sometimes share cars, but this one is mine. I laugh at his possessiveness towards the car. Boys and their toys. I mock him. Josh shrugs again. probably agreeing with me, and motions me to follow him. I walk around the car and fall into step next to him. We reach the door that leads into the house. But before Josh opens the door, he stops me. Don't be nervous. People might look at you strangely. Josh seems to be choosing his words carefully. I look at him curiously. Why would they look at me strangely? Josh hesitates, and again it seems like he's choosing his words carefully. I don't usually bring girls home. I laugh. It's cute that he's self-aware of what people will think of him with me. You're so adorable. Hey, Josh's voice takes on a deeper tone. I am not adorable. I don't ever want to hear that come out of your mouth again. Josh warns me. However, he ruins it by smiling at me. I make the zipping motion on my lips, telling him that my lips are sealed. They better be sealed. Josh mutters as he opens the door to the house. My mouth drops open as I walk into Josh's house. Bright cream walls greet me, making the space seem larger than it is. Soft-looking, white carpet covers the floor. We walk through the small hallway and into a living room. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Logan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Logan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dark brown couch sits in front of a flat-screen TV. Two matching brown chairs sit on either side of the couch. A matching long coffee table sits directly in front of the couch. The TV sits in a large cabinet-type piece of furniture on either side of the TV. There's glass doors that open to reveal an amazing movie collection. Josh keeps on walking through the living room and I trail behind him. We reach stairs that head up to the second floor. I head up the stairs behind Josh. That was only the living room. I wonder what the rest of the house looks like. Once up the staircase, I'm surprised to see that pictures cover the walls of the hallway. Every picture is black and white and in a black frame. I start walking towards a group of photos, but Josh tugs me back by my arm. Come on, Evie. It's not that interesting, Josh says, rolling his eyes, but I can tell he's nervous. His eyes glance to the pictures behind me and he tugs on my arm again. My room is this way, he says quickly and starts walking down the hall with me in tow. I follow him, but he doesn't let go of my arm. We reach Josh's room and he opens the door and gestures for me to walk in first. I smirk at him and walk into his room. Once I walk in, I am greeted with a very masculine room. The walls are a nice, deep blue color, which match the sheets on the well-made bed that's against the wall in the center of the room. The bed is a deep brownish red color that surprisingly matches the deep blue. In the corner of the room, by the window, sits a desk that is the same brownish red color as the bed. A dresser of the same color sits next to a black-colored door. It was a pretty nice room. Nice room. I voice my thoughts to Josh as I hear him close the door. I know. His voice is full of cockiness. I roll my eyes at him, though he can't see me doing it. Whatever. Let's get started. Shall we? I respond, my eyes landing on a black laptop sitting on the desk. We shall. Josh agrees as he walks in front of me, towards the desk. I watch him as he grabs the laptop. Have a seat and you can use the laptop first. Have a seat where? I scoff as I look around to prove that there aren't any chairs or anything to sit down on. The bed. The floor. I don't care. Just sit. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Josh says playfully as he gestures to the bed and floor. I didn't want to be awkward and sit on your bed. I mumbled dejectedly as I walked towards his bed. Evie, you're my friend, Josh says, disgust clear in his voice. I didn't mean it like that, Josh, I exclaim, my cheeks probably turning red from what he was suggesting. Hey, you were the one to suggest it. Josh shrugs. I was not. I almost yell at him. Josh laughs and walks over to me with the laptop. He sets the laptop on my lap and sits next to me. I open it and go straight to the internet. Well, I say to Josh as I start typing in the search box, let's get started. 3 hours later and we hadn't gotten far. Josh kept distracting me by asking a ton of random questions. I had a hard time finding the information we needed for the project. We had switched off every hour, which gets the computer to look things up. Somehow, we managed to be laying down next to each other with the computer in front of us, both as I searched through websites. Do you sleep more on your back, sides, or stomach? Josh asks his newest question all. I respond quickly while searching through the latest website. Finding this website to be helpful, I quickly save the URL as a bookmark. Do you want to take a break? Another question fires off. Yes, please. I sigh out and close the computer. Josh takes it and places it on the floor so there's more room. If you wanted a break that bad, you could have just taken one, Josh says to me as he rolls over onto his back. I copy his actions and roll over to my back. We wanted to get this done today. Remember? I remember. But it is a lot of work. Josh sympathizes with me. I know, but I didn't realize it would be that hard to find information. I sigh out, rubbing my hand across my face. We'll finish it, Josh says while squeezing my other hand reassuringly. Suddenly, the door to Josh's room opens and in storms a mad-looking Ashton. Josh's hand quickly retracts from my hand, but it seems he doesn't move it quick enough. Ashton seemed to have caught on to the movement. Ashton looks at us again, laying on the bed, and his anger seems to grow. I can almost swear I hear another growl coming from Ashton. I quickly glance back at Josh, to see if he hears anything, and see that he is wincing very severely. Hey Josh, you okay? I ask him, worry seeping through my voice. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You need to leave. The response doesn't come from Josh. The demand comes from Ashton's clenched mouth. I turn my head back towards Ashton, only to see that he is staring at Josh and I still. I gape at Ashton, my mind not being able to comprehend why he's here or why he wants me to leave. Now another demand comes out of Ashton's clenched teeth. His eyes flash to mine. I'm surprised to see that they aren't their normal blue color. Ashton's eyes have turned many shades darker, and turned into a dark blue, one that could easily rival the night sky. I shake the color out of my head, and focus on my anger that's slowly rising. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But who do you think you are? Telling me to leave. I wasn't telling Ashton off, but my harsh statement was cut off by Josh. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please, go downstairs. I'll be down in a minute. The plead seems to be forced out of Josh's mouth. Josh, this time I am cut off by Ashton. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Ashton's growl interrupts me. I try to ignore the shiver that runs down my spine when Ashton says my name. I gape at Josh and Ashton. I was sure Josh was going to take my side. Realizing my mistake, I get up off the bed and rush out of Josh's room. Cursing Ashton, I accidentally brush his arm. Tingles shoot through my body at the contact. I exit the room, retrace the way to the stairs and jog down the stairs. I walk into the living room and sit in one of the chairs. I don't know whether to be angry or upset, so I settle for both. Why would Josh take his side over mine? I know that Josh and Ashton don't have the best history, and I trusted Josh with my secret. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The bruises are gone. It was the thought that counted. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Ashton's soft voice interrupts my thoughts. Anger triumphs. What? I spit out. Ashton winces. Listen. Listen to me. Please. My mouth closes and I decide not to say anything. Thank you. Ashton continues. I'm sorry about being harsh earlier. It's just complicated. I can't explain it and I'm sorry about that too. But I'm on a roll. I'm again sorry for doing the whole project. I didn't know you would get mad. I thought I was doing something that you would appreciate. But I see my mistake now. Ashton looks into my eyes as he says this. I'm surprised to see complete honesty shine out in his eyes. His expression turns hopeful as I continue to look into his eyes. Well, I didn't know how else to respond. My vendetta against him and his apologies now seems very stupid. Ashton gives me a small smile and I suddenly find it hard to breathe. My mouth opens to respond with something better. But Josh comes down the stairs. "'Agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "You ready to go?" "Oh, I'm interrupting." Josh quickly changes his direction and starts to walk to someplace else. "Josh," I quickly call out. "Yes, I'm ready to go." Josh nods and heads towards the garage. I give a small smile to Ashton as I start walking to the garage, which is conveniently behind Ashton. I stand up and start walking towards the garage. When I pass Ashton, his hand shoots out and grabs my arm, stopping me. Tingles shoot through my arm and through my body. "Bye, Evie. See you later." Ashton's minty breath washes over my face. I find myself looking at his lips, which have turned into a smirk. I glance up at his eyes and see that he caught me looking at his lips. A blush finds its way on my cheeks. Ashton's smile widens and I know he caught that too. "By Ashton," I mumble, looking down and trying to hide my blush. I feel Ashton's hand let go of my arm and I quickly scurry away from him, worried that my blush might increase. I head to the garage and see Josh already in his car. I keep my head down as I walk to his car because I know the blush is still present. I reach the car and quickly get in. Josh eyes smiling. "Remember when you were in the hospital and I told you things were going to get better?" "Yes," I say quietly, still trying to fight the blush. "Just make sure that you give those things a chance to get better." Chapter 23. For the rest of the weekend, I couldn't stop thinking about Ashton's apology. The way he said with complete and utter honesty took my breath away. It seemed that he had changed so much since I first met him, and something in me wanted to believe that. But a bigger something was still wary. He was still the one who had rejected and bullied me. He was still the one who didn't care when he hurt me. Ashton was still the jerk who had done all those things to me. But he was also the one that apologized multiple times. He was the one who did our entire project in one night. Ashton is still the one to catch my gaze and keep it. He's still the one who, somehow, causes tingles to erupt on my skin whenever we touch. I didn't know what to think of Ashton. I sigh and run my hand through my hair as I stand in front of the mirror. Monday morning was not the best time to have all these thoughts running through my head, putting me one way, then putting me the opposite way. I walk over to my nightstand to retrieve my phone, when I notice a flash of blue outside my window. Carefully moving the curtain, I peek outside to see what it is. The same blue car that was there last week has shown up again. It's sitting in the exact same place, doing the exact same thing, which is nothing. It's just sitting there, in my memory. I try to remember specifics about the car at Josh's house, trying to remember the tales that I could use to prove that it's the same car. Since I'm not an expert in cars, all I can really pinpoint is that it has the same color and is the same type of car. I carefully try to put the curtain back where it was slowly, so it looks like to whoever's in the car that the curtain never moved in the first place. I walk quickly out of my room and head downstairs. The car's back. I say immediately when I see my mom. "Agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." She sighs. "It's nothing, I'm sure. Just the neighbors or something." My dad suddenly seems curious. "What car?" Mom sighs again. "It's nothing. Evie's just been paranoid about a neighbor's car." She gives me a pointed look that says to drop it. I decide to give my side of the story. Last week, that car was just sitting there and Mom and I were leaving. Then once we left, it followed us all the way to school. "Well, who got out of the car when you got to school?" My dad now seemed more concerned. I pause. "Well, no one. The car kept on going. The concerned look on my dart's face vanishes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm sure it's fine. Like your mother said. I groan and turn away, knowing I'm not going to get anywhere with them. Maybe I am going crazy. Ready to go. Mom asks me as I walk to the fridge. I feel like something juicy, so I grab an apple for breakfast. Yep. I say quickly so I can start eating my apple. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll be in the car, she responds as she walks to the garage door. Faintly, I hear a beep from the car and I know she just unlocked it. Mom walks out to the car, opens the garage, and open the door and start the car. Bye, Dad, I say between bites of apple. I grab my backpack, which is by the door, and slip on my gym shoes. Bye, sweetie, he calls as I open the door to the garage. The blue car hasn't moved. I eye it warily as I get into our car. I shut the door and Mom immediately takes off to school, just like before. As soon as the blue car is almost out of eyesight in the mirror, it starts following us at a lengthy distance. I look at my mom and see that she doesn't seem worried. I sigh and again watch the blue car in the side view mirror. We reach school and the blue car speeds up and passes the school like it did before. I get out of our car as soon as my mom stops the car, say a quick goodbye, and head into the school. Entering the school, I see someone who I didn't expect to see. Catherine. She turns towards me and her face breaks out into a smile. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I start walking quicker over to her. Once I get to her, Catherine holds her arms out and I give her a small hug. How are you feeling? I ask her as we break away from our small hug. So much better, Catherine says, exasperated, but with a happy smile. I notice that we only have a few minutes before class starts. I'll see you in communications. I turn around and start walking to class. See you. Catherine yells at my back. I walk to history with a smile on my face, glad that Catherine is back. I won't have to go through gym alone. I smile wider at the thought of not being alone in gym. I reach class and unsurprisingly, Ashton is already sitting at our table. As soon as I enter the classroom, Ashton's head shoots up and immediately spots me. He gives me a sweet smile and I find it hard to keep my face neutral as I walk to our table. Hi, Evie. Ashton breathes as I sit down. Small shivers run through my body. Hey. I respond quietly, trying to keep my face and body neutral. How was your weekend? Still with the same breathy quality in his voice. I squeak. I feel blood rushing to my cheeks and I turn my head so Ashton doesn't see me blush. It feels so embarrassing to squeak. I hear him chuckle quietly and I know he saw me blush. Students start coming in. I realize that class is about to start in a minute. I watch as Mr. Holland comes in holding his satchel and walks to his desk. The bell rings a few seconds later. All right, class. Let's get started. Mr. Holland starts his lecture. I groan softly, knowing that this is going to be a long and boring lecture. Reluctantly, I get my notebook out of my backpack, grab a pencil, and open to a blank page. Mr. Holland starts his lecture and his PowerPoint. The first slide pops up and I start scribbling in the notes that are on the slide. Suddenly, hot breath fans my ear. Boring, isn't it? My hand stops writing at his words. Pleasant shivers overtake my body, starting from where his breath tickles my ear. Still looking forward at the current slide, and not daring to turn my head to look at Ashton, a warm chuckle fills my ear. Keep up. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't want you to miss the notes. I feel Ashton's presence right next to me. Glancing down at my paper, I realize he's right. I am starting to get behind. But I can't seem to focus with Ashton so close to me and with shivers continuing to run through my body. I take a deep breath, look up at the notes now on screen, and start writing them down slowly, concentrating very hard on each letter instead of someone else. Slowly, I start to catch up on the notes. Did you get the notes from the last slide? One breath tickles my ear again. I take a short breath. Yes, can I see them, please? Ashton asks me softly. I nod my head and turn my paper towards Ashton for him to check his notes. My hand stays on my paper, and before I can move it, Ashton's hand covers it. The first thing I notice is how warm his hand is. I peek a glance at Ashton and am surprised to see that he's staring at me. I quickly avert my eyes as I feel my cheeks heat up. I hear a pencil moving swiftly across paper and I know he's copying the notes. He whispers as he moves his hand from mine. No problem. I mumble as I move my paper back in front of me. I look up at the notes and start writing again. A couple minutes later, I am once again distracted by the warm breath tickling my ear. I was wondering. Ashton pauses as if he wants the suspense to build. If you wanted to possibly do something with me, like a date or something. I blanch, my note-taking completely stopping. I sharply turn my head to face Ashton and face to see if I can find any hint of humor that might prove that this is a prank. All I can find is sincerity. What I start, but then stop and try and rearrange my thoughts. Why are you asking? He shrugs and pauses, probably thinking of what he's going to say next. I just want to find a way to apologize. Distrust suddenly rises within me. Apologize for what? Ashton winces and glances away from me, only for a moment, then again returns his gaze to mine. The project. I had already caught on. Nothing else. I ask rhetorically. He winces again and breaks eye contact, but this time it stays broken. No, not just for the project. I thought not. I say haughtily as I turn my head back to the front and start writing once again. A couple seconds later, to my agent extraordinaire, Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please, let me explain, Mr. Carter. Would you like to share what you were saying to Miss Cross with the class since you thought it would be so important to say during my lecture, Mr. Howland asks, sounding extremely irritated. My cheeks heat up as the entire class turns to look at Ashton and I. Glancing down at my paper as a distraction, I see that I am once again falling behind in notes. I was just asking Evie if I could see the end of the notes from the last slide. The lie rolls smoothly off Ashton's tongue, Mr. Howland glances at me briefly and I give him a quick nod, agreeing with what Ashton said. He looks at Ashton again before speaking. To my agent extraordinaire, Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't interrupt class again, Mr. Howland returns to his lecture. I return to taking notes from Mr. Howland's lecture. Glancing at the clock every few minutes, I realize that I can't move faster by looking at it. Fortunately, it does move and soon enough. There's only a few minutes left of class. Unfortunately, however, Mr. Holland's lecture never wavered and is still going on. So, would you like to do something? Ashton whispers in my ear. Why would want to do something? I ask haughtily. Still distressful. Ashton sighs. Please, Evie. Just a chance. I turn my head and look at him. I almost break at the hopefulness in his expression. I'd open my mouth to agree to this chance, but then catch myself. I sigh as I glance back down at my notes. Warmth covers my hand and I look to see Ashton's hand once again covering mine. He gives my hand a small squeeze and I look at him. Like what? I ask him, already knowing that I'm going to agree no matter what. His expression breaks out into a smile. Whatever you like.